So this is the 2001 Pontiac Aztek GT that I bought on January 20th of 2018. The Aztek is one of my all-time favorite cars. It's also the only car that I have ever owned twice in my life. And this is honestly the first car that I've ever bought dedicated to being a project. I bought this car for $400 from a couple in Streetsboro, Ohio, which is roughly a little over an hour away from here. It ran, but it was undrivable. Had to have it towed home. And for one day, it sat here. But for the rest of the entire year that I've had it, this is where it's been, in this same spot. Now, if you have been following this channel since I brought the Aztek home, it was specifically not only for me to have as a collector car, give or take, but I also wanted it to be its own little series for the channel. So what you're about to see today in this particular video is just a compilation of everything that has taken place with this Aztek since the day I brought it home. Over the course of this year, I've managed to get a lot of major stuff repaired on it, but at the same time, I didn't get as far as I was really hoping to get. As you can clearly see, it is still up on the jacks. The tire over here is still off, just leaning against the car. But I got it, the one major thing that needed to be done to this car. I managed to get it done. It took longer than I expected to have it done, but it's done. And that was the entire top half of the engine being rebuilt. And if you haven't seen any of the other vlogs in regards to the condition of what this engine was in when I bought it, oh, it was bad. It was real bad. I'm honestly surprised that the car still runs. As of right now, it runs. It's still not in the best running condition. There's still a couple of hiccups here and there that I have to try and figure out. But needless to say, it does run. When I brought the car home, you can run it, but being that the head gaskets were blown and I was really afraid of the car getting even slightly warm, you know, I probably only ran it for 10 minutes tops. But I would just come out here and start it and just let it run for a short period of time and then shut it off just to make sure that everything still runs. Now, the longest that I've had this car running since I had completed it and had it put everything back together, I've had it run for about 2 hours without turning it off. And it managed to keep temperature. But like I said, there's some other hiccups that I have to try to figure out. But after the 2 hours, it started getting warm again. And I noticed there's steam coming from somewhere in the radiator. So the radiator could possibly be up for replacement. That could be another thing I have to do in the future. But whatever. Regardless, we did the head gaskets, intake gaskets. I cleaned up all of the valves, the springs, the rocker arms, the heads themselves were replaced. But there is so many components that had to be completely cleaned. And like I said, I'm really surprised that the car even runs as good as it does, being that this was in such terrible condition when I bought it 1 year ago. Not to mention the car had already been sitting for a year. And then when I bought it, it's practically been sitting for 2. But now that we're getting into the winter months, I think a lot of the extensive repairs on this vehicle are going to kind of be done until the spring. And as of right now, I have to replace a return fuel line. And that's really it, other than the fact that maybe I'll have to do a radiator change. But like I said, we'll have to worry about that as the time kind of goes on. Other than that, she might just need a couple of other things here and there before she's actually roadworthy. There's still a few fluid leaks that I have to try and fix or figure out how to fix new transmission lines, but I have a leak coming from the fitting at the radiator, and one of the power steering lines, all the lines are new, but I just have to get the one line hooked up. I'm having a hard time with how the lines are sitting, so we're going to hold off on that. Obviously, like I said, no brake lines right now, but yeah, she needs brakes, she needs tires, she may need some back suspension replacements. It has the air ride, like the air suspension in the back, but the compressor is not hooked up. The lines are completely rotted, so I might just try to convert the shocks in the back over to non-air suspension shocks, like you know, an Aztek that wouldn't have the air suspension at all. But as I mentioned, you know, the overall condition, she's dirty now. I did detail it once. It was in way worse condition when I brought it home. It hadn't been touched or washed in a long time, but it's rusting a little bit behind this door. I mean, the entire inner wheel well's kind of coming apart, and maybe one day we'll replace it. But my new goal now, like I said, I managed to get a lot of stuff fixed on it. However, wasn't able to make it drivable this year. So I'm hoping next year will be the year that we can get it drivable and actually see, well, how it drives. So in this video, like I said, we're just going to take a look at everything that I have done over the course of the year with my 01 Pontiac Aztek GT. And I want to thank everybody who's been watching these videos and supporting me rebuilding a Pontiac Aztek of all things. But I cannot wait to actually be able to drive the car. I'm excited. There were a few times here and there where I may have regretted this purchase. But I mean, for $400, I knew it wasn't going to be a perfect car. But it was a good starting point to actually get my hands on another Aztek. So that being said, let's take a look at this entire year of what we have done with this Aztek since January 20th of 2018. And we will continue with all of our major repairs and stuff with the Aztek in the spring. Thanks for watching. The time has finally come. It is finally happening. It didn't really go the way that I was originally planning on doing this. It's a 2001 Pontiac Aztek. In a way, this is really cool. I mean, I'm really excited about this. We're heading over to my friend Dennis's now. He's got his truck. We're gonna head over to U-Haul and get the trailer or whatnot, and then we're going to drive the hour up to Streetsboro, Ohio. We're gonna finish signing the title and stuff over, and then this car's coming home. And I feel like a kid on Christmas. Well, so far so good. It's still there. Didn't roll off yet. Okay, Aztek's in tow. We're heading over to finish up the title work. Alright guys, so here it is. My new 2001 Pontiac Aztek. After all this time, an Aztek is now in my possession. The overall condition of the car really isn't that bad. Here we go, the 3400 V6, the infamous gasket failing engines, and that's kind of what's wrong with this one. One of the very first things are going to be to definitely tear this engine apart and kind of replace the gaskets and such. Now, I've never done that before, which is actually one of the reasons why I decided to buy this car, is because I've always wanted a car to kind of learn on, and something I can tear apart and take my time with, you know, learning. Obviously, I'm not going to do that with my daily driver. It even has the original gas cap, which is amazing. This is really the only thing cosmetically that bothered me on this car. the K has been broken off. So here it is, the inside of my Aztek, which I honestly find nicer than the Aztek that I had, because my Aztek was mostly all gray on the inside, but these earlier Azteks had a different pattern when it comes to the seats. Those are the Aztek bags. These are the bags that go in the pocket up front. Oh, that's awesome. Look at that, they're here. Signals work, high beams work, general parking lights, interior door lights, cruise control, wipers. You can see just about every button on the dashboard lights up. These are the only things right now that don't light, but hey, who cares? Look at the stereo. It just looks great. Car does run. I could show you guys real quick. I just can't keep it on for too long. So there she goes. There it is. So, official GM product here. It is the Aztek nameplate for the back window. Oh, it didn't cut off this time. Come on. My Escape probably hates me. Whoa. Come on. All right. Let's get the show on the road. So, maybe it was both power steering and transmission fluid that was leaking out of this thing. It's not going anywhere now. Stupid angle. Okay, now we get to play this game again. Oh, that's not good. There we go. And I went back as far as I can. We're gonna go to the junkyard. And as you can see, a little bit of rain. We're gonna get the cover for this. I might also see if they have any decent hood shocks. I'm also going to see if I can get a battery. So I really don't like the way that positive terminal looks. It looks kind of weird. I don't know if it's because of the battery itself. It might be. The negative side doesn't really look that bad, but this battery's shot anyway. It's from 2011. Said something looks funny about that. Oh, man. I was able to get those miscellaneous screws that I couldn't get at the other place. Plus the this is for the battery terminal, for the one that I don't like, so we're going to see if we can fix that. I grabbed an oil cap off of another 3400, because I don't know if I really mentioned it, but the one on my Aztek is like stuck. And I was able to get a battery. So basically, I spent 50 bucks today and got the shocks, the cover, a battery, and my miscellaneous parts. So will she start on her own? My bad. Yes, she does. Oh, yeah. Let me try to get power and I'll show you guys exactly what is going on with the curse of the Pontiac sound systems that continue. But you hit load and it says wait, and then it says insert CD1. You can hear it trying to move, but it's not grabbing it. My Aztek came with a 6-disc CD changer, and it will stay with its original 6-disc CD changer, with the help of another 6-disc CD changer. We're not going to use this whole stereo. I want to take the drive out of this one and get rid of this one because it's no good. Let's see if, okay, insert CD. Well, that's a good sign at least. We have grass. I see some grass. Let's open the door. Yep. So that's our brake fluid. So at least now that we were able to pinpoint that anyway, I just wonder if the probably gonna have to do all of the lines if they all look like that. So let's see. I have no idea if this is the original suspension or not. I mean, you know, pretty rusty looking, so it's a really good possibility. Spare tire is still intact. Probably never gonna be able to get that thing off. I know, no brake fluid. Got to work its way into the system, but I don't know. Oh, there it is. So that's our power steering fluid. I was counting on there to be a leak. It's itching me every time. It's like really bothering me every time that I start this car up. All I want to do is just tear it apart now. So I mentioned it in a previous vlog, but my Aztek was actually manufactured in October of 2000. So I still have one of the earliest Aztek sets out there, and that's pretty awesome. I don't know exactly when production started with the Aztek, like what month. I know it was obviously, I think in the summer of 2000. It may have even been a little, you know, even before that maybe. I am owner number 7 when it comes to the Aztek. So it had 6 previous owners before me, and I am number 7. See? I actually wonder if the oil in the car is at appropriate level. That's something I never really looked at. Oh, that looks like coffee. Way over full if that's the case. Oh boy, I'm so excited. And there it is. Whew. Not as much of a heavy flow as I was expecting for it to have. Oh boy, look at that. It's starting to look like gel. This has probably been draining for like 15 minutes so far. Oh, I do not like that. This is why it's important to do proper oil changes. I mean, yeah, some of this could be because of whatever, like I said, whatever gasket has failed. But you're gonna get stuff like this too if you don't properly change your oil. Ew. Ew. Oh my gosh. Oh, that is terrible. Let's fill it up. 4.5 quarts. It's probably going to go over a little bit, but you know, I don't care at this point. It's all going to come back out anyway. A nice clean 5W30. Gonna wipe off the cap now. We're gonna reset the oil life monitor just to be polite. It's not really gonna matter anyway. Okay, let's see how it goes. Fingers crossed. Let me turn there. Okay, well, I don't see any low oil pressure, so surprisingly we have pressure. Oh boy. And of course the Aztek. This car has been sitting for 4 days. So before I get into the topic of the Fiesta, I figured why not do a 4-day cold start of the Aztek. It is currently I think below 20 degrees, not negative 20, but it's like 20 degrees or in the teens or something. Okay, so we all know this process by now. I looked at the oil. I'll tell you what, still looks a heck of a lot better than it did. Ooh, no. Okay. So this is the first start in, like I said, about 4 days. Let's see how it does. I'm not losing brake fluid yet, so that's good. I filled up the brake fluid reservoir because the noise was irritating. 19 degrees. Okay. So, there's that. Disconnect the car and I'll let it sit for a little bit. It really doesn't sound all too bad. Okay, here we go. I think you can kind of hear where it sounds like there's an exhaust leak down there. Yep, that's probably the exhaust manifold. Does the horn work? You know, the horn on this one sounds different. The horn on my other Aztek sounded different. This sounds like a real horn. The Aztek had like some wimpy horn. Finding new things out about this car every time I sit in it, I suppose. Not as bad as I was thinking it was going to look back there. Alright. That looks a lot nicer, doesn't it? Turns out while this other seat will move freely, meaning I can fold it down like this, and I can flip it up entirely, this one doesn't want to budge. See? And the back, well now this is way. The back hinges, they look like they might be a little rusty. Oh, look at that. Sheesh. Ooh, a nickel. Alright, so this seems to be a little bit better now. So we'll pull that. I need both hands. Oh, sorry. Okay. Flip that, and there we go. One-handed, great. Whoa, fired right up. Sweet. The nice thing is, at least when the door is closed, there's no additional warnings in the message center, so it's basically just the anti-lock that I have right now, and the occasional service engine light comes on, so we'll have to figure that out once we get the engine in its, you know, good condition. There's that service engine light. You know, let's just start tearing it apart. Let's start tearing this engine apart. I'm probably not going to get as far as I'd like to today, because I know I will be losing daylight soon. But let's just start doing it. I don't know, I think I'm done for the day. I didn't really get as far as I was hoping. But hey, at least we kind of opened all this up. So basically, we undid the battery. We carefully found all of our wiring harness that had to be taken off and carefully moved back here. We got the throttle and cruise control cables off. We got the throttle body loose, but now I'm thinking I probably don't have to actually have it off at this time. I guess we'll find out. We finally got down to the upper intake off, or the plenum. Plugged up our holes and such, and I'm not really gonna clean all this until it's all gonna get done at one time. I did put the bolts back in for the plenum, so they are in correct sequence, or spots, as well as the plates and stuff. I think I'm going to cut it for this video now, and I think I'll just pick up on removing the lower intake right now for the next video. I got the first one out, but look, the other two are still in there and the shield has already fallen off. But I can't get the shield off because of this bracket that's sitting here, and for the life of me I cannot figure out how to get this bracket off. Oh boy, look at that, nice and clean bag. Alright, that's amazing that he had this the entire time and never used it. Like, that's unbelievable. There's the tent itself, the actual camping poles. Oh, I kind of don't want to unfold it, but I want to look at it. That's incredible that it's here and never been used. All the water that may be in the engine should be at the bottom of the crank, so I'm assuming if we loosen the oil bolt, the oil plug, I wonder if we'll see some water come out, but we'll see what happens here. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, it looks a little watery. It's got a red tint to it, which is interesting. Yeah, look. It might be a little watery. It sounds like water. So I don't know. Oh, okay, here it comes. You can see some of the, looks like some of the sludge contaminants came out first too. But it still has a golden color for the most part. Oh, there we go. We're getting to the sludge now. Oh, there's the sludge. So there's our... yep. I wonder how much is going to fall out. Ew. There's all the black stuff, yep. Looks really weird when the clean oil's mixed in with it. Yeah. So I think I'm just going to let this sit open until we're done working with whatever we are up top. I'm just going to let everything drain. And we'll just kind of see what happens from there. This black pipe is working out wonderfully for a cheater bar. Oh boy. Okay, this is going to be a mess. Let's see how well this comes off. There's the antifreeze, but that's probably just because I didn't drain it. Something tells me these are not that old. Look at all the sludge, all the goop. First of all, I got a good look at the fuel filter now recently, and I bet that thing has never been changed. So we might as well add that and these fuel lines going from that filter. We might as well add that to our list of things to replace. These other lines I think are okay. They look like they are either plastic or not plastic, but like rubber hoses, or they're just encased, you know, pretty well. Alright, we got one. It broke, but that's what I was... No, it didn't break. Good. Nope, just a nut. Alright. We got one. Sheesh. I only got one of the exhaust studs, or one of the exhaust nuts off from underneath the exhaust manifold. Even with the pneumatic air impact, I only got one off. The other one, I think what's going on is the impact socket. There's the train. The impact socket, I don't think is making full contact with the nut itself. The one exhaust stud is what is keeping us from literally completing taking off the back head of the engine. I've enjoyed working on this car. I really have. I've enjoyed it since I've had it. It's been a pretty awesome experience. Hasn't been an easy, experience. I've definitely had some challenges getting to where I am now, but at least I was making progress, and that was the nice thing about it, was we were making progress with it. But doing all of this work now, I have not been making any progress at all. So it is very frustrating. There is literally a pile of rust sitting here behind or in front of the left rear tire. And it's from basically opening and closing this door to put parts in and out of the Aztek. Every time I close the door, another piece falls off. It's actually at the point now where the inside of this wheel well is caving in. And I know I want it fixed, but I don't know when I'm going to be able to get that part fixed. Along with the rust and such, the tires are in really poor shape, and they've been in poor shape ever since, obviously, the car has been home. In fact, they are in so bad a shape now, the right front tire is, at this point, completely flat and is crushing my oil basin underneath the car, which I used to collect coolant. The Aztek has been sitting with this head off for a while, and there's some surface rust inside the cylinder wall that I'm gonna have to try to get off, and of course, you know, this whole block needs to be cleaned. Whew, I really hope I can get that out. And right where this flange meets, that's where the other stud was, the one that I got off easily. The other one is sitting down a little further. And I can't get the camera down there enough, but it's right along this area here. So that's what we're trying to get off from the underside of the car. And then with that, this entire manifold is disconnected from the actual exhaust pipe seen here. We'll take the head off along with the exhaust manifold and this crossover pipe. That should all come off. All right.
Never thought you'd see the day, huh?
No. Oh man, I'm so happy.
It'll go right back together.
Awesome. Here's the other gasket. Maybe that was the... Ah.
Look at that. See that hole?
Ah.
And this one too, see how that?
Pretty sure that passage is just completely... Yeah, you can see it. It's so plugged up. Right there. You can see the little hole where it is open. Oh my word. I have to buy a pick set, and then we start picking most of that gook out of there. And oh, didn't think that through. You know. This one is... Oh my god, I bet somebody cross-threaded this one. Oh, yep. Alright, we broke that spark plug. Let's see, nope, that's what happened to it. See, it's still sitting in there. Well, I may as well not even clean these then, because now I have to have the work done on them for sure. I've decided I'm going to wash the Aztek. Now, I didn't really want to wash or detail the Aztek until it was running, because for one, it's a pain in the butt back here. Look at all the dandelions back here too. Darn, I got a step back there too. But yeah, I didn't really want to do any good cleaning or anything with the tech until it was running. But at the same time, you know, that dirt has been on there for God knows how long. As you noticed, I decided to rip off this hood guard that was here. It's held on by adhesive, which is actually still pretty sticky. So I decided to get rid of it, and you can see the dirt that is just sitting, that has been sitting under there for who knows how long. All right, so far so good. The entire car has been washed. This is all from this car, by the way. See how dirty this water is? That is all from the tech. Oh, there's a web there. Yeah. Whoa, look at that. I'll have to get a little more, because I couldn't really spray in some of these areas. Oh, that's cleaning up pretty nice though. Well, that looks sharp. It almost looks like a brand new wheel. So if you guys have been following the Aztek updates, this is the head that we couldn't get off of the engine because of the exhaust being attached to the backside here. There was that one stud that we couldn't cut. We couldn't get the bolt off because it was rounded, and then we couldn't cut it off either because of the spot, how bad of a spot it was underneath the car. But we finally got it off, and in the process, you know, once it was out of the car, I took the exhaust manifold off. As you can see there, a couple of the studs are still in here. And then I was going to take the spark plugs out because I'm going to get new plugs for the Aztek. But as you see, the one for cylinder 1 broke off. So I got a hold of a junkyard in the area. Actually, I tried to call a few of them, and only one junkyard right now has the heads for this particular engine. They said it's in good shape. They checked them for any damages. Whether it's going to be clean or not, I don't know. And here's the new head. This is mine. It slid. Good thing I took that off because it didn't come with it. He managed to find one with that stud, actually. The one that they had the stud on it. Crap. I did forget to take the nut off of it, though. So I'm going to have to get a nut now for that. Well, I'll start this, and I'll show you guys how it's going to look. Okay, so I think we're done with this now. This is probably about as good as I'm going to get it. But you can see it's got a little bit of a shine to it. Kind of hard to get into these spaces here with that sponge. So if I had like a fined buffer or something, that'd be a little easier. But I think for the most part, it looks way better than it did. And I also did the valve covers, and you can tell that these made a world of difference, sanding off the grease and such. So here is head number 1. This is the front head off of the Aztek's engine. And this, you know, this is the one that I did not replace. This is the gross, grimy one. But yeah, you can see all of the crud and stuff that's been in there, and you know, the valve springs look disgusting, and I'm sure the valves themselves, well, the bottom of the valves look pretty gross. Okay, so the spring is now compressed, as you can see, and kind of had to shake it a little bit for it to actually release from this these keepers up on top. So the keepers are, you know, you can see it's moving now, but we got to get those keepers off of there. Now you may need to use like a pick set, but I don't really have a pick, so I might just try to, oh, there we go. Very important that we don't lose these. There's one there, and here's the other. So there's two pieces, as I mentioned. There we go, just like that. And the inside they have these little grooves, and if you can look, you see how they kind of bevel downward. You want the thicker end is that's the top. This lower end is going to be the bottom part. You definitely don't want to screw that up when you put these back on. So from here, I should just be able to lift the spring up.
We don't have to. I'm just saying. If we think we'll be all right with what we have like.
And that's that. Wow. And the top little retainer is there on top still. So I'm going to set that off to the side briefly. And there's the seal right there at the bottom. And there it is. Wow, look at all that carbon buildup.
Is that what that is right there?
That's all carbon, yep.
Oh, wow.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Ooh, that one still had oil in there. So, whether I should have done this or not, I went back to my good old friend Extreme Wheel and Tire Cleaner and decided to give that a shot on these heads, being that they're aluminum, and well, most wheels that you would use to clean this with are aluminum. So like I said, I don't know if I should have used it or not, but it did the trick. Well, here it is. So you can see it looks way better than it did. I still was using a toothbrush, so there were some spots that I really couldn't get into, but I tried to get all of the important spots. Like over here on the side, I tried to get rid of all the gunk in the valley for the push rods, so the push rods should be moving freely. And we tried to go in through here and got some of it off of there. Not too bad, not too bad. headlight, so I think this is as good as we're going to get this one. Not too far off from the other one. I mean, whatever's in there, I don't think is going to hurt anything. The Aztecs, and I know a lot of other GM cars from this time period, all seem to have this issue where the dashboard padding starts to come up off of the actual dashboard support, you know. Engine is still completely torn apart down to the block. Other various issues need to be fixed. But I haven't been able to do any of that because of the yellow jackets and the wasps all summer long. I found it. I already see it. It's directly under the headlight. Right there. Holy crap. Oh, and there's some in there. Nope, nope, they're back there. They're behind it now. But in today's video, we're going to actually remove this headlight completely, along with the other headlight and the amber lights. And what I'm going to try to do is kind of restore these headlights a little bit better. It might be easier to do this on the actual vehicle, but the only real reason why I did is because I'm honestly still kind of nervous about there being leftover wasps from my little nest issue. And it's still really hot outside. It was way above 90 degrees today, and it's really humid, and I didn't feel like dragging the hose out, so being able to take these off and just bringing them inside to do this seemed like it wasn't a bad idea for today. Check that out. And actually, it really doesn't look as bad as it did with just the you know, the polish on there. So the wax definitely brightened it up after the polish. You still see some marks and stuff on there, but like I said, that's probably never going to go away. It's just natural for how old it is. But yeah, even when you look at it dead on now, it doesn't look as foggy as it did. I mean, yeah, a little bit, like I said, because you're bending the plastic, but no, I think it looks fantastic compared to this. So we'll be getting the we'll be trying to get this to look as good as that. You can see if you look around the corners and stuff, it doesn't look too bad. Even around the top, where you can usually see a lot of the fogginess, we don't really see that as bad now. See, if you look at this one, you can already see it at the top, how it's kind of grayed out at the top. So I just finished doing the other two, and here's what they all look like together. We're gonna start getting these power steering lines off. I mean, 18 might work. It's on there, but it's in such a weird position. Oh yeah, okay, 18 works. Woohoo! Alright. There's one. Surprisingly enough, both of those were not as bad as I was thinking they were going to be. I mean, I had the breaker bar on them, but... And we soaked it in PB Blaster for a little bit. But that actually came out like a breeze. So the sending line is in. I got it routed up under that wiring harness like the last one was. And I started hand tightening it into the steering shaft. So the other end's over here, as it should be. So that's what I'm faced with now. The rain's really coming now. All I gotta do now is, obviously we have this section of line here, which I'm still kind of concerned about because right now it's rubbing up against this boot, and I'll have to work something out with this. I don't like that. Here's one of our radiator lines. This is probably going to be the hardest one to get to because it kind of sits back a little bit. It routes itself, it bends there, and then it goes under the radiator support, down and under, and to the transmission. The other one, which will be easier to see down the bottom, is right there where that yellow thing is. That's actually the retainer clip for the C-clip that holds the line in place. But that might be a little easier to get to it from the bottom because it's toward the bottom of the car and we'll be under there. So there's both of our lines there. There's these little plastic retainers here. You could just take a screwdriver and just kind of pry it out of the way. Oh, this is going to be a treat. Oh boy. Okay, this one's coming along. This is the one with the weird curve on it. And, alright, one out. This one is the one that goes straight up, isn't it? Yep, straight up. Right down. It's going behind all these other harness or wires or hoses or whatever. And, alright. Sweet. And the nice thing is we didn't have to cut those up too much, so we'll be able to, you should be able to match them up perfectly with the new ones. For the most part, you know, I got both sides sanded down. I vacuumed out this other port, all these other ports here, and cleaned out the rust in these cylinders also, and these pistons also cleaned up somewhat. It's a little harder to see because of the angles, them being toward the back and all. But we picked out some goop, and it was a little bit easier with the vacuum hose next to this. That way it kind of caught it, and kind of wish I'd done that with the front, but oh well. I wish my container was a little flatter on the bottom. It's kind of a flimsy container, so it's, get it out of the sun. There we go. Okay. Oh wow, I can already see the oil starting to come off of that. They're not perfect, but at least the majority of all of the old sludge and oil is all off of those. All of the keepers are there. This stuff did a pretty decent job. So, I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is we successfully got out the broken exhaust stud from the head that I bought from the junkyard. The bad news is the head that was from the Aztek originally, which had 2 broken studs in it, well, that head is now ruined. Yep. Wow, yeah, that's coming out pretty good. So, no good. And we bought another head from a junkyard. So this is actually the head from, it's on here, where is it? It's a 2001 Grand Am. Same exact year as my Aztek, actually. So 01 Aztek, 01 Grand Am. Doesn't have the mileage on it. Releasing the tension. And yes, the spring pushed down the seat the rest of the way. Alright. Oh my word, and just like that, this head is done. Alright, so this is the front head of the Aztek's engine. This is cylinders 2, 4, and 6, basically. This is also the head that had to be recently replaced because we screwed up the original front head from the engine. And this bigger mess back here is our back head. So, same thing. This head was also replaced. The original head, the original back head of the Aztek, I should say, I got rid of because a spark plug broke and it seized up in there, and I think somebody either cross-threaded it or the heat somehow may have bonded it to the head, I don't know. But anyways, it was going to be cheaper for me to just buy this head instead of having it drilled out and replaced. Anyway, I just decided to try to clean the head, or the intake manifold, as best I can. Now, the fuel injectors and all the electronics for the fuel injectors and such are still attached to my intake, and I didn't want to take those off. So what I did was I just brought the intake in the house. I used the wheel and tire brake dust, cleaner that I used on the heads to clean the underside off. And for the most part, I think I did pretty good. I couldn't get all the crevices and stuff, but I can't douse it with the hose because the fuel injectors and all the electronics are still on there. Spark plugs are here. When I went to go put the spark plugs in, I noticed that they ended up giving me the wrong plugs. And the ones that they gave me were AC Delco number 14, and number 14 happened to be the single platinum plugs. The 3400 V6 requires, or at least on the Aztek anyway, I'm assuming it would be the same for all of them. I could be wrong, I don't know. But the Aztek needs, or recommends, or requires, whatever. The manual says you need the double platinum spark plugs. AC Delco part number 41-940. AC Delco 41-940. I'm tightening it very gently. Now it's getting snug. The bottom of the spark plug, the arch part, shouldn't be reaching out to the table, by the way. So we should still be okay. We shouldn't have to worry about crushing the arc. Okay, it's getting tight, so I'm just going to just snug it a little bit. Not over snugging it. And that's it. So the plug itself, you can't probably see it from this angle. It's right here, and yeah, it's not touching the table. So the main goals for today are to at least get the brake lines run from across the firewall, connected to where they need to go up front anyway. We're not going to worry about where everything needs to be replaced underneath at this time, including the spot where we know for sure the brake line has broken, which is under the driver's side door. But the goal is to at least get these lines run up here, so then I could start putting it back together today. The sun keeps coming out, the rain keeps falling, the sun keeps coming out, the rain keeps falling. It hailed for a little bit. So needless to say, it just stopped raining again. It's actually still slightly sprinkling. But for the most part, we got what we needed to do as far as the brake lines against the back wall, and you can tell that we had to really move a few things. The back head again, cleaned up the front a little more too, just to make sure. This is as good as all of this is gonna get. Just trying to make sure nothing else falls into these cylinders. Little tiny bits of dirt and stuff, you know. But guys, this is it. We're putting this head on. And look how nice it looks. You want to compare this to what I pulled off of this car back in March or February, whenever I did it. This is a nice gasket, and it's thick. It's also slightly bent. That's not good. Okay, 2 clicks, 44 foot-pounds. There's no going back now, guys. Don't break on me, please. Oh, yep, okay. And use the same pattern you did when you torqued it down the first time. And that's it. Here's how all the rockers for the front head came out. A little bit better. They at least, you know, have a little bit of a metallic color to them. Try to get what I could off, but I'm not 100% concerned about it. At least it's they just look cleaner than they did. Okay, so all of my first set of push rods are cleaned. I just started doing the back push rods. So what I'm going to do now, just so I don't really disrupt all this, is I'm going to start walking these over. So we're going to start with this one. This is for cylinder 2, one of cylinder 2s. Very, very important you make sure that these go back in the exact same order you took them out. So cylinder 2 is going to go right there. The torque spec for these, I believe, is 14 foot-pounds from what I read. Yes, so we tighten them to 14 foot-pounds torque. So let's get our torque wrench and take care of that. 14 shouldn't be that much. So probably just do it with one hand. So we got it set to 14, and let's just torque it down. See? So 2 clicks ensures that we are at 14. So honestly, when you snug it up with the ratchet, it really wasn't too far off. So that's good. Okay, 2 clicks. Okay, so I got the intake torque down, and I got kind of nervous with the specs that they were giving me. What I tried to use with these in particular, they started getting really, really tight, and the thing wasn't clicking, so I just kind of backed off. But I mean, they should be tight enough. Same with the sides, especially with the ones that you can't really get to with a torque wrench. I had to use an open-ended box wrench, and I just kept going and going and going until I just couldn't get it to move anymore. So I'm assuming it should be okay. And if not, then lesson learned for next time, right? You know, since the engine's pretty much all closed up now, let's go ahead and add some clean oil. We're going to open the drain plug here, and I just want to see if anything else falls out of this engine before we put anything else in it. So we drained all this out months ago. This car has not had any oil in it, and that way too it'll kind of give it a chance to I guess sit with clean oil before we run it. So maybe then you know, the stuff that hasn't had oil can kind of sit in some oil, but there shouldn't really be anything in here. Maybe some leftover goop, I don't know. Oh, there's a little bit of stuff dripping. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how much of that stuff it just keeps coming out. Ugh. Oh my gosh, I seriously just... I mean, I hate that. I really hope that we can end up eliminating that. Look at how much more is left. I thought we drained all this stuff out of it. I mean, that's been sitting down in there for months. So I have to put this right side motor mount on. This is what I kind of have to redo. But the thermostat hose and housing are in the way, so I have to take the thermostat housing off. And this is where we are so far. So the engine is 100% sealed up. We just have to get all of the other accessories on. So. Ooh, this stuff burns, guys. If it gets into any of your cuts, yikes. Oh, yeah, that's actually working better than I thought it was going to. Alright guys, so here's the finished product. Look at how much of a difference that made. So this is the air snorkel side, and this is the actual plenum side, and look at how much better. Got majority of all that nasty carbon and crust off. I'm going to clean the mass airflow sensor, which is this contraption right here. And there it is, our sensor's in there. So we're going to be doing that also before we throw it in. And for that, you want to use specific mass airflow sensor cleaner. Don't use anything else. It is a very delicate sensor, and you don't want to use anything other than that cleaner. That cleaner, you know, dries quick. And yeah, so don't want to use anything other than that for that sensor. Old, disgusting air filter. New, perfect air filter. Oh, I love doing that. This is it. This is the finished product, minus the belt for now. And the power steering line still has to be connected and possibly moved out of the way. And the coolant reservoir that goes here, I ran the hose back over and disconnected it, but it's in the basement. I'm trying to clean all the gunk out of it. But everything else is plugged in, everything else is all wired up. Came to notice I have an extra coolant hose here. Where does it go to? There's nothing around here that it goes to. Well, it turns out my old coolant bypass tube has the specific oil cooler outlet on it. And the new part is missing that outlet. It's best if we just completely eliminate the oil cooling system. For crying out loud, my Aztek has 170,480 miles on it. It has had that mileage, well, for a long time. It hasn't been driven in maybe close to 2 years at this point. But there's not going to be any towing or anything with this car, for sure. Alright guys, well, I'm back at a junkyard. I found a more local U-Pull-It here in the Youngstown area on the east side, and I'm under a Buick Rendezvous. So 10mm is all I need. There it is. And it looks like they're threaded the same on both sides. Great. This is an 03. Actually, it really doesn't look like it's in all too bad a shape. Ceiling kind of looks like mine. Anyway, I found a working glove box handle. So we're gonna take this glove box handle, since for some odd reason mine broke. And I snagged a couple of Aztek floor mats. Now, they're not obviously in the best of shape, but they don't look too bad either. I don't care if they don't look perfect, but my Aztek doesn't have actual Aztek mats. $1.50 a piece, so $3 for those 2 mats. Is it out yet? My gosh. Oh, whoa, whoa. That is a lot. That's a lot longer than I imagined it was going to be. Without that piece on, this thing's loose. It's off. So all I have to do is disconnect the line on the block, and we're about to get probably dumped on with a bunch of nasty engine coolant. Again, sorry for the film, but it's getting dark and I can use my light. So it is gone. Here it is. Oop. This is it. Look at all the crap that was in there. But anyway, so there, that is where our filter is going to go from now on. As you can see next to it, that little thing at the top, that's the original fitting. Hopefully we will be able to get that out and put our new fitting in there. I might have used a little too much thread tape maybe on that that piece there, because it's really snug and there's still just a little bit sitting outside of the block. Oops, not a whole lot, doesn't seem like a whole lot, but it's taped up. So if this is going to be an issue, obviously, I will probably just, I guess, take it out, but I don't think it's going anywhere. I'll take it out, take the tape off, and maybe, I think I only did like 3 tight wraps. But the oil filter is also ready to go back on. So let's do this so I can call it a night. Alright guys, that's it. Filter's on. Coolant jacket is plugged up. Yeah, I would have been really disappointed. I was not expecting this. I'm really surprised that this is all that held the oil cooler on. Oh, that's disgusting. The reason why it's up this far is because I kind of made a mistake. And honestly, at the time, I didn't think it was going to be too bad of an issue, but it's turning out to be a little more than I imagined. I did not really line up the part where the exhaust manifold, right around there, I did not really see that it had been lined up with the rest of the exhaust system. So once I had already bolted the head down, I took a gander, and of course it wasn't lined up. I didn't think that was going to be that big of an issue to correct, but as you can see, we ended up disconnecting the entire exhaust system from the bottom of the car, and we still can't get it on. Last but not least, I am gonna try to make another attempt to get these transmission lines on. The reason why I didn't really finish the transmission lines was because that right there, this fitting, as you can see, is completely rusted and rounded out. This thing worked wonderfully. Have these little like barbs in them a little bit. It gripped onto that thing. Wow, I'm really glad I bought these. I wish I bought them no sooner. Transmission lines are in place, as to be expected. Couldn't route them 100% the same way. I mean, they're pretty close. This is actually supposed to snap into here like that. One of them we're supposed to. The other one's hanging here. They're going around, and couldn't really get the lines to go up to this bolt here where that's supposed to go. So I found a clamp, just kind of clamped them together there like they're supposed to be. It's holding them pretty good. And into the transmission. Very slow stream. Trying not to lose control of this bottle. I keep seeing dripping over here. It's running down where the transmission line is. I hope it's just because the neck was overfilling. I hope there's not really a leak. We're not able to start it yet. However, we made some great progress this evening. The little leak turned out to be where that transmission fitting is, where the line goes in. Well, the fitting wasn't tight for some reason. It was really loose, so the antifreeze was leaking around the fitting and coming out. So I took the transmission line off, I tightened it up, and then put more antifreeze in it, and as you can see, the Antifreeze is still at level. It's not dripping at the moment. It's not dripping at all. You can see a lot of it ended up coming out. So the good news is, as of right now, the radiator is in pretty good shape. Got the exhaust hooked up to the back of the engine, so that is done. We had to cut this piece of the exhaust off, and it's probably a good thing we did, because the this piece here, this was on the muffler, and as you can see, it is the one side, the bolt just, it fell right off. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna straight pipe that and put some clamps on it. Just now I managed to hook up the new exhaust piece. Here's what we did. It might be kind of dark. It's basically, I just bought like a straight pipe. Didn't have to be very big. Yeah. So I bought a straight pipe and then just clamped it down on both sides. So yeah, it's all hooked up. Is there any leftover power? I seriously doubt it. There's a little bit of power left. What? The glove box is lit, the dome lights are on. She got a little bit of life left in her. Oh my gosh, look, the floor lights are coming on. Wow, I thought that thing would have been completely dead. That's 8 months of sitting without any activity. Okay, so before we actually crank this over, I just want to say that I am not 100% confident that this is going to work the way it should. And I'm not saying that because I think I did a bad job. I don't, honestly, I got it back together. I tore it apart and I managed to get it back together. That alone is a pretty wild accomplishment. I want to say the reason why I don't feel as confident as I should is because of the fact that I haven't done this before. And I just want to say, you know, I've tried my very best to get everything put back in its correct place. I've tried everything, making sure everything was snugged down, making sure everything is as correct as possible. Can't guarantee that this engine is even going to last. I mean, based on everything that we've seen in this engine, I'm really, really surprised at how well it ran to begin with. So I can only hope, now that we've cleaned everything out, we've been adding fresh oil. We did 2 oil changes technically since I brought the car home. And the first oil change really didn't have enough time on it. But it cleaned out a little bit, so I'm hoping we can flush all that stuff out. So this is it, guys. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. I know it's dark. I didn't want it to be dark, but let's try it. I'm really, really nervous. That's a good sign. Car's not seized. Oh, she chugged a little bit. It's probably, all the bad gas is probably still making its way to the injectors. Come on. No way. Yes! Yes! Yes, it lived! No way! Very first time this car has ran since February of, you know, this past year. It ran pretty decent. It was a little shaky, which I expected it to be shaky because of the bad gas that's been sitting in there. Now, when we got it started the first time, I noticed we still have a few issues that popped up, and I'm still honestly not 100% sure why these issues are here. The very first issue that we came across was the fact that all of the transmission fluid leaked out again from the top cooler line on the radiator. The next thing that occurred was we saw some smoke coming from the right side of the, right over top around the transmission area, and I don't think that's any concern. That was a brand new crossover pipe, and I'm sure there was leftover like machine oils and stuff from when that was being made. And the third thing that occurred was a coolant leak from one of those lines going into the heater core. The fourth thing that has occurred, and I'm really confused about this, and I'm really concerned about it too. Hopefully it's not that big a deal. There was a screaming noise. Something under the hood started screaming after the second time that we started the engine. As you can see, just from the times that we've been running it, it's no longer clean in there, so the seafoam looks like it is doing its job. So the oil, I mean the springs and stuff still look great, but you can see the oil and stuff in there is already turning color, and that just shows me that the seafoam, for the time that the car has been running, the seafoam has been starting to clean up some stuff. Well, I guess the good news is I figured out why this was leaking. I was kind of correct. The bad news is it's broken. So here's the end of the hose. I kind of chewed up a little bit with the vice grips, and I'm honestly not sure if that's supposed to be bent like that. I don't know if I did that or what. Still garbage in there. But anyway, there's the piece on the top of the metal line, the quick connect. You can see it was kind of broke right off. Our new connector on there, got the hose clamp tightened down. The barb on the new connector is right here all the way around, so the hose clamp is all the way around it. There shouldn't be any leaks. What's left over here is from me pushing the connector onto the line. Still get bad contact from all of these parts. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, turn that off for now. Okay, there's the whistle. See, it's starting to really shake now. The whining noise goes away, so that's kind of cool. Where'd that rag go? Vacuum? Is there a vacuum leak, maybe? There's a vacuum leak. I bet it might be that back PVC valve or something. So it's been a few minutes. I got steam coming up from over here now. So we probably have an issue with this hose. Hose is warm. Engine coolant started to come out of the bleeder here. The car is staying here at temperature now, so I guess that's good, surprisingly. So the thermostat opened. Still no heat in here. No heat in here yet. Let me show you the old pieces that we pulled off of this car. So first off, my main concern, of course, I showed you guys this already, was this crankcase breather hose or tube. So I showed you this already. The grommet's just kind of deteriorating, and it doesn't seem to want to stay inside the back valve cover. This side that goes into the air snorkel is fine, but I'm hoping that it'll take care of the vacuum issue, and if not, like I said, we'll have to go from there. The next thing is this radiator hose. You know, from the outside it doesn't look too bad. From the inside, I mean from what I can see, it doesn't seem too bad either. I think part of my problem could have been this little notch here. I don't know if maybe steam was sneaking out of that little notch there. This is the side that was in the radiator. The good news is the plastic radiator housing that this goes onto doesn't seem to be broken. so that's good. I thought maybe there was a chance that was cracked or something. So next up is this belt. The belt doesn't really, I mean, it doesn't seem too bad, but there are markings. Yeah, it looks like, actually it looks like the belt might have been slipping sideways from something. I mean, there's like all these weird sideways marks. That could have been an issue, who knows. But my main concern was all these cracks at the bottom of this belt. So the new belt that we put on doesn't have barely any cracks. I mean, probably none at all, because the writing is still on the belt, so it's a newer belt, so we should be able to get some more time out of that. Next up is this pulley. The pulley, I didn't think was going to be an issue. I mean, it's spinning on its own. And the pulley, comparing this one to the other one that I put in, this one looks like it's actually coming apart. The other one has like this thing in this gap here, and the inside of this is rusty and stuff. So I don't know if this is going to be our culprit or not. Oh, the noise is still there. Even though it's running really shaky and the squealing's not going on, it sounds like it's running smooth. I mean, like no ticks, no knocks. Everything sounds normal, other than the fact that I just have to figure out why it's shaking so bad. It might be kind of hard to tell on camera, but I kept hearing a hiss, and I was kind of moving this around over here, this EGR purge. I think it's right at this, oh yeah, look at this, this is cracked. Right here, right at the end of that. Oh my word, I don't remember seeing it like that. I did the vacuum line, which we'll be putting in today. I grabbed the additional pulley off of that 03 Aztek, the red one, and I decided to get the battery, which I'm going to put in right now. There we go. Really isn't all that bad if that stupid bar's out of the way. One's the sender, one's the return, and the other one is for the evap. The evap I don't think is going to have any actual gasoline in it. Oh, those lines look awful. So, once that filter's off, I could probably get a better look, because I'm having a hard time at this angle. But I bet that line, I bet that line's just completely toast. Okay, so now I just gotta get this end off of the tank, go into the tank. God, that filter was disgusting. Everything drained out, so if we hadn't relieved pressure, there'd probably be more fuel leaking. So, yeah, that line isn't too bad. It looks bad, but I think it's just surface rust. This is, if I can go a little further up, right there. So that's got to be our return line. It does look like it's flaking off quite a bit, and it looks like that's probably where it was leaking. Nothing's gonna go according to plan. Now hopefully I don't have to take this line all the way back to the tank and replace it. Hopefully there's a way to just get the rest of this out and maybe replace this quick connect. Yeah. The filter's off. Wow. So believe it or not, it is important to drain or replace your fuel filter. Some people obviously do not replace their fuel filter, and this is what happens. Yeah, wonderful. So now that those are off, you can see how this one, has some rust and stuff on it. To get this off, you just basically pry the little rubber off around it, and then you just kind of pull it on out. Yeah, so see, it kind of rusted. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. The outside of this one looks good, but we're just gonna replace it anyway. This is the negative one. That's a lot worse than I thought it was, because you don't see all this when it's in there. So yeah, that could have been a problem. Greetings. It is the following day, following night. I just got home from work, as you can clearly see. Let's see if our battery held up. Nope. Alright, well, so it says that it's fully charged, but the bad battery icon did come on. Well, let's start. I don't know, this seems to be pretty good so far. See? I wonder where it could be. The battery round. Oh, see, I just moved something. And now she's alive. So we have a electrical connection issue somewhere. And every time I wonder what the deal is. I wonder if it's the same, if it happens to be on the harness that was undone for a long time. Because this harness was out of the loom for a while. Oh, is it the positive? See, I don't know, it's weird because we just put the new screw in, but we moved the positive, but that's tightly connected to the negative also, where it splits off. The negative one doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. If I try to wiggle the negative, I got nothing going off. Wiggle this positive. Now it seems to be fine. Oh, right there. Man. Ain't this some stuff? As soon as we go to turn it over. Oh. And there's our scream, of course. Let's do this real quick. Doesn't really sound like it's coming from the harmonic balancer after all. So it's something else, which is now very interesting. So as we got close to that balancer, it really didn't sound like it was coming from down there. So where, oh where, could that now be coming from? Like I said, that sensor is under here, under the power steering pump. And I thought about changing it while everything was still apart. I actually wanted to change all of the sensors for the most part, but I just never really got around to it. So this nightmare of a pump has to come back off. And I don't think I have to really take any of this stuff off to get it off. Me and the power steering pump never get along. Had a hard time getting it out the first time, had a hard time getting it in, and now I have to take it out again, which was another fight. I kind of used this to try and pry it out. I don't know why, for some reason it doesn't like to come out easily with me, and dug into this a little bit, but it's okay. Anyway, So there is the camshaft position sensor, held on by one bolt. We should just be able to pull it out. Alright, she's out. Just took a lot of pulling. Okay guys, so here is our new sensor compared to the old sensor. And it's in a lot better shape, obviously. So let's go ahead and we'll just shove this all down.
Oh, you're just connecting it.
It just pushes down into this hole,
Oh.
and then you just line the bolt hole up with it. Alright, well, the slightest chance that that noise was coming from that sensor. It's a pretty slim chance, but might as well see what happens anyway. Ah! Figures. Okay, here we go. The noise changed a little bit from this angle right here. So it's coming from, it's definitely coming from around that area there. I've decided, since I have nothing else to do this evening, I'm going to go ahead and just take the plenum off. And it's driving me crazy knowing now that, you know, we're close to finding the issue, whatever it may be. But I'm going out there now, and we're going to undo the plenum off of the intake, and I want to see if I can find out what exactly happened. I've been out here for probably, you know, 20 minutes to a half hour, and I started taking the plenum off, and you know what? I didn't. I was in the process of removing all of these bolts back here. I took the hose off, and I got to the front, and I started to undo these 3 bolts here. And before I even tell you guys what the issue possibly has been this entire time, I'm just going to tell you guys, always double check your work. And if you double check it like I did, triple check it. Quadruple check it. Check it as many times as you possibly can. Because I think what the issue turned out to be is this bolt here, and this bolt right here did not seem to be tightened down enough. Really? And I honestly don't know how I missed that. I went to undo this one, and it was so loose I thought I had the wrong size socket. Okay. We all know this little procedure well. That's better. Here we go. Oh my God. No way. First of all, how relieved I am, but second of all, how dumb I feel at the same time. 3 little tiny bolts, which were snug, but not snug enough. Alright, so I have nothing further to say about this situation.